প্ৰিয় শিক্ষাৰ্থীসকল, কৃষ্ণকান্ত সন্দিকৈ ৰাজ্যিক মুক্ত বিশ্ববিদ্যালয়ৰ বিদ্যায়তনিক দৃশ্য শ্ৰাব্য অনুষ্ঠানটিলৈ আপোনালোকক স্বাগতম জনাইছো। স্বয়ং প্ৰভা DTH চেনেল 20ৰ যোগেদি শিক্ষাৰ্থীসকলৰ অধ্যয়ন কাৰ্য অধিক মনোগ্ৰাহী আৰু ফলপ্ৰসূ হোৱালৈ লক্ষ্য ৰাখি বিভিন্ন বিষয় সামৰি আমাৰ এই বিদ্যায়তনিক অনুষ্ঠানটি সজোৱা হৈছে। আহকচোন প্ৰিয় দৰ্শকসকল, আমাৰ আজিৰ খণ্ডটিৰ মাজলৈ আগবাঢ়ো।
Dear learners, I am Trisha Dowerah from the Bhupen Hazarika School of Mass Communication, Krishnakanta Henrik State Open University. And I would like to cordially welcome you all to another online video class on mass communication and journalism. In today's class, we are going to discuss about the relevance of traditional folk media. This particular unit belongs to the paper Traditional Folk Media from the third semester, BE in Journalism and Mass Communication under Krishnakanta Henrik State Open University. This is the 7th unit of this particular paper. In this unit, we are going to discuss about the traditional folk forms in rural India, its impact on rural development, and its different uses in different fields of life. So after going through this unit, you'll be actually able to appreciate the impact of traditional media on rural development, and also list the various traditional folk forms in rural India, as well as discuss the different uses of traditional media in different fields of life. Now, what exactly is traditional media? As we have already discussed in a previous video classes, traditional media is nothing but their indigenous channels of communication for expressing the local customs and beliefs, as well as social, moral and emotional needs of the people within a particular community. And its nature is very lively and actually corresponds to the changing time pattern. So for the past 50 or 60 or maybe 100 years, traditional folk forms have been used on a wide scale in different parts of the country, both in rural areas as well as in urban areas. And it definitely acts as a vehicle for disseminating the information to the masses. And as we all know, India is a huge country, and so definitely we have a very rich variety of folk forms, and it includes different combinations. And folk forms, there will be different combinations of drama, there will be different combinations of dance, of songs, on music, on storytelling, on puppetry, on different mimes, and so on and so forth. And usually when we talk about the different traditional folk forms in India, basically we can classify them into 5 categories. They are the folk theatre, they are the folk songs, the different narrative forms like ballads, different folk tales, as well as other storytelling forms, and religious discourses and puppet shows. Let us try to analyze these 5 different categories one by one. So first one, we have the folk theatre. Now, when we talk about folk theatre, it actually doesn't mean something that a drama taking place on a wide scale, or a theatre taking place where it is there are stage has been prepared, there are lights, there are different props are used. But that doesn't only encompass only that. There is more to that, and each region in this particular country, like it may be any region in the north, any region in the south, or any region in the east or west, they have their own distinctive style of presentation, as well as where the different issues are addressed pertaining to that particular region. And whatever the case may be, there is one common thread that actually binds the different regions, and that is usually borrowed largely from the classical Sanskrit theatre. And one important, very common feature among all these different regional forms is the presence of the Sutradhar, which literally translated it's known as stage manager, and the Vidushak, that is a narrator or the buffoon, under different names and guises. And then there are other features of folk theatre that are borrowed from the classical theatre, like we have the stage preliminaries, there's invocation at the beginning of the start of the folk theatre, or there may be a benediction at the end of the performance. There will be different stylized movements, there will be use of different props, different masks, there will be prominent makeup will be there. So these are different features of the folk theatre forms. And when we talk about folk theatres, they usually perform in an open space. Okay, it's not that something it's confined to a very closed room or indoors that is usually seen in the dramas in the present day context. But when we talk about folk theatre, they're very special characteristic that is performed in open area, open space or open ground, through which the different performers, they can actually be in contact with the audience who might be sitting in the open area. Okay, so this is just like having a kind of connection with the audience, so the audience can actually be able to understand the different nuances of it, the different areas on which the particular folk theatre is based on. So that connection is actually felt as far as folk theatres are concerned. And when we talk about the contents, what exactly constitutes the different folk theatre forms? So basically these different theatre forms are based on mythology, as we all know, and of course on different legends, on romances, and also other secular themes as well. Now let us try to look into the different varieties of regional folk theatres of India. Okay, we'll just try to discuss in a very concise manner, because in detail you will be able to understand different varieties in your own respective study materials. It's been given in a proper way, but in this particular class we'll try to briefly examine the different folk theatre forms, the regional folk theatre forms. I'm sure most of you have heard about Jatra. This is one of the most important regional folk theatre forms of India, and it's a characteristic as a main folk theatre from Bengal. Though it dates back to 15th century, Jatra became very much popular in 18th century, and basically this particular folk theatre form it grew out of the Bhakti movement, and the initial themes were exclusively very religious in nature. And towards the 19th century, it started containing the humors and socio-political comments on contemporary themes. A Jatra troupe basically consists of an adhikari, which is equivalent to the Sanskrit sutradhar, and jury. Jury basically is a team of singers who are very much well versed in singing different classical songs, which actually interpret as well as elaborate on the songs of the main character. So Jatra is one of the most important variety of regional folk theatres of India, and it's a main face of the West Bengal. Then we have Nautanki. Nautanki is usually associated with Uttar Pradesh, and it is very much popular in the city of Kanpur, Lucknow and Hathras. And not only UP, not only Uttar Pradesh, it is also performed in certain small villages, certain pockets of Punjab, Haryana as well as Rajasthan. And in Nautanki, the performance, when we talk about the performance, it actually begins with a traditional invocation, which is followed by the Chaubolla. Chaubolla it's a song that is performed by the Ranga, that is Sutradhar, after which this particular play is performed. Then coming to the eastern part of the country, we have the Bhavna, which is a presentation of the Onkiya Nath of Assam. And Bhavna, it gives a kind of cultural glimpse of Assam, as well as of Bengal, Odisha, Mathura and Vrindavan. So the Sutradhar, he or she actually begins the story in Sanskrit language, and then either in Brajavali or in Assamese script, he recites the different slokas, he sings, he dances and recites different prose. And apart from the Sutradhar, in the Bhavna troupe, there are the Bhauriya, that is who are actually the actors who plays the role of different characters. Then the Gayan, they are usually the singers. And Bayan are the musicians who plays, the khultal from the beginning to the end of the play. And it was actually, Bhavna was written by Srimad Shankardev, who is one of the renowned Vaishnavite saints of this part of the country. Then we have Tamasha. Tamasha is one of the important, regional form of folk theatre forms of the country, and Tamasha is very much popular in Maharashtra. Usually Tamasha, it consists of invocation, There is a Gaulang, that is a song on the theme of Lord Krishna and the milkmaid. Then the Lavanies, that usually consist of narrative, poetical compositions, okay, and so forth. Then we also have that is known as Therukuthu. Therukuthu is a folk theatre form of Tamil Nadu, which actually means street play, and it's mostly performed during the Mariamam festival. That is a rain goddess festival, which is celebrated in Tamil Nadu. And usually this particular festival is celebrated to achieve a very good harvest, because it's usually believed that when there is very good rainfall, that will actually lead to a very good harvest. So it's usually performed at that point of time. Now let's come to folk songs. So we have tried to understand what exactly is folk theatre, these different regional varieties of folk, only the important regional varieties of folk theatre forms. Now let's come to folk songs. Now, just like folk theatre, India also has a very rich tradition of folk songs, which are very much diverse in nature because of the cultural as well as geographical diversity. And every region, every state, every nook and corner of the country, they have their own distinctive particular style of folk songs. It's not that Assam has folk songs and the Bihu folk song of Assam is applicable to other states as well. No, different states, they have different folk songs, which one can actually identify with the different meanings, different contents of what the folk song is all about. And Swayam Prabha, he is one of the very renowned folk artists of the country, a person who has actually extensively done research in the area of folk media. He has categorized, or he has classified the folk songs in 3 different types. First is the bhakti songs, which from the term itself you can make out they are devotional songs, which has very strong links to the classical music. And then of course we have the ceremonial songs, which are very much seasonal in nature, and it's all related to different rituals, different walks, different other love songs, and so on and so forth. And finally we have the tribal songs. Okay, now for example, when we talk about tribal songs, we have the Baul of Bengal, the Garba of Gujarat, then Ghumar of Rajasthan, we have Bihu of Assam. So these are some of the tribal songs. Then let us come to another important category of traditional folk forms, that is the narrative forms. So from the term itself, the narrative talks about how you narrate a particular story, how you try to narrate a particular song, in the form of different verses, in the form of different poems, and so on and so forth, mostly ballads. And narrative forms, they have been actually used to spread the message of patriotism, something of related to the country's nationality, to unite the people, something to bring about reforms in the country, both at the national level, at the regional level, as well as the local level, something related to bringing about a societal development, something related to some cultural as well as economic issues. So narrative forms basically brings under its umbrella these different aspects of life. Now there are different narrative forms which are very popular in the country. Let us try to briefly examine a few important one of them. The first, of course, with the Bura Katha. Now Bura Katha is actually performed mostly in the villages of Andhra Pradesh as well as Telangana by a 3-member troupe. In a particular group, there are 3 people in there. And this particular troupe consists of Kathakadu, that is the principal performer, who actually dances and recites the story. And the Rajkiya is there, who actually acts as someone who knows the different ways of life and draws analogies between the story and the contemporary socio-political problems. Okay. Then moving on, we have another important narrative form, that is a Dasakathiya. Now Dasakathiya is a very popular narrative form of Orissa. And usually in this particular form, in this particular troupe, in this team, there are only 2 people are there. One is a Gayaka, that is a singer, and the other is the Palya, that is the accompanist. And the way the things are sung, or the way the things are narrated, it's a very different, it has a very stylized way it is done. Like the theme is drawn from mythology, from different folk tales, and from other famous battles as well. And it's not only there, singing is performed. Of course, there is very humorous kind of interludes in between. The skits are there, then proverbs, anecdotes. These are all, part and parcel of the performance. And there are also other narrative forms, like we have the Alha Uttar Pradesh, we have the Nagala Punjab, then we have Vilupattu of Tamil Nadu, Povara Maharashtra, there are others and so forth. Then now let's come to another important, category of traditional folk forms of India as a religious discourse. Now, from the term itself, we can make a religious. Okay, it's some kind of, you try to narrate some stories in songs where, the content is drawn from the scriptures, and which has some kind of deep meaning about the life or about the society as a whole. And this religious discourses, they're known by different names in different parts of the country. Like we have the Harikatha, we have the Katha, we have Kirtan, we have Pravachan. Okay, and usually in such religious discourses, what happens is that the main performer is a Kathakar. Kathakar, he needs to have a very good knowledge of the different scriptures, and of course, the Kathakar needs to possess very strong musical ability, and he should also be a very good storyteller, because if someone is just narrates some kind of story without giving any kind of meaning to it, then obviously that won't make any sense. So there is narrating a storytelling is also an art which the Kathaka needs to have. Okay, and also the Kathaka needs to have a very good first-hand knowledge of the local customs, because obviously if someone goes to a particular place and narrates some kind of stories, then the concerned person needs to know about different local customs without kind of hurting the sentiments of the people. So that knowledge has to be there. Then there is another category of traditional folk forms, which is known as the puppet shows. Now we are very aware of, we have actually grown up seeing the different puppet shows all across the country. Even we have also personally visited, we have seen some puppet shows live in front of us. So puppetry is nothing but it's just an ancient form of performing art, which is very much integrated, or which is very much integral to the performance arts heritage of India. And we have seen numerous references of puppet shows, of puppetry, in most specifically in the two epics, that is the Ramayana and the Mahabharata. They have spoke volumes about the different nuances of puppetry in the country. And puppet performances, of course, they're a very important way of trying to reach out to the general public as a whole, because when different social messages, different social issues and concerns of the people are being demonstrated through the medium of the puppets, so people generally feel a kind of connection to them. So that adds a kind of humorous to it, and adds a kind of a certain reality to it. So there are a lot of angles to it. Okay, the sort of main objective of any kind of puppet show is that it addresses the different social issues as concerns of the people, as well as since it's an integral part of the heritage of the country, so people they get attracted to it. People feel that such kind of issues which highlight their own lifestyle, which highlight the society in which they live, it actually indirectly it helps the people to understand the development process in a better way. So people, there is a need of holistic development, and that can actually be achieved through these different folk media forms, and puppet show is one of them. Now when we talk about the puppetry as a whole, of course there are different types. We have the glove puppet, we have the rod puppet, we have the string puppet, as well as the shadow puppet. Now from the term itself, we can make, and when we talk about glove puppet basically mostly it's seen in the states of Orissa, Kerala and Tamil Nadu, and it's very simple in nature, and gloves are worn by the puppeteer in his or her own hands, and the puppeteer tries to manipulate, the head of the puppet with the index finger, while the arms are manipulated by the thumb and the middle finger. So just with the hand-of-hand movements, different issues are being shown. That is how glove puppet tries to bring up those issues in front of the people. Then of course a rod puppet is there, which is mostly found in West Bengal, and basically such kind of puppetry is manipulated by using three main big rods, where one of the rods is held at the back of the puppet, the other the two rods attached to the hands of the puppet, and then the puppet is being moved, and through different nuances, through different hand movements, different hand gestures and movements, different issues are being shown in front of the people. Then of course with the string puppets basically they are being suspended by strings, and different multiple joints are there, and usually there are such puppets, and the manipulating techniques or the size or the shapes and costumes differs from region to region. Okay, it's one kind of it's different in the state of Delhi, it will be different in the state of Bengal. So from different regions they have the different ways of different techniques are being used to showcase the different issues to the string puppets. And of course with the shadow puppets, basically they're two-dimensional figures, and they're usually illuminated with a very there is strong light sources there behind the puppets, which actually cast a shadow, and with the help of the shadow the different issues are being raised, the different issues and different movements are being shown, and these are very much popular in Andhra Pradesh, in Karnataka, mostly in the South Indian states. Then let's try to so far we have tried to understand the different traditional media folk forms, different categories. We have the folk theatre, we have the folk songs, we have puppetry, we have religious discourses, and narrative forms, and all these. There are some different traditional media folk forms as far as rural India is concerned.
ইমান সময় আমি স্বয়ং প্ৰভা DTH চেনেল 20 যোগে সম্প্ৰচাৰিত কৃষ্ণকান্ত সন্দিকৈ ৰাজ্যিক মুক্ত বিশ্ববিদ্যালয়ৰ বিদ্যায়তনিক অনুষ্ঠানটিৰ আজিৰ খণ্ডটি উপভোগ কৰিলো। এই বিদ্যায়তনিক অনুষ্ঠানটিৰ জৰিয়তে শিক্ষাৰ্থীসকল নিশ্চয়কৈ ভালেখিনি উপকৃত হৈছে। পুনৰ আন এটি বিষয় লৈ আমি আপোনালোকৰ মাজলৈ আহিম। নমস্কাৰ।